Hi guys, hope you had a good weekend. I did grade your test. Just a couple things about that is right now you just have a percentage in there. Once everybody takes that and I have all the deadlines in, I will make a video and go through the answers. That way you can see what you missed. You can go back and check and see what you missed. Very good test scores overall, so be watching for that. Like I said, I have to wait till every test is in the deadline so that I can put that up there. Now, this here, we're going to be moving into multiplication. And what I did was I just looked up, Googled multiplication chart, multiplication table, and you'll see free printable ones, and you can get you one. This is what we're going to be moving into is multiplication. And I wanted to just real quick hit on mental math again. We talked about that with addition and subtraction, but it really comes into play in multiplication. These multiplication charts, it would be a good idea to make some flashcards to practice these, to get familiar with these so that you're not always having to rely on a chart to do the mental math ones. So I brought one up. You can make them bigger, meaning you can get them all the way, bigger numbers here. It doesn't have to just stop at 12 times 12. Okay, you can actually get bigger ones than that. Whatever you need to use it first to kind of help you. Like I said, it's okay if you use these. You just want to spend some time practicing getting to where you don't have to use them as much or use them at all. So kind of get used to that. But basically, what we've got is we've got this chart here, and how you use this is, let's say you were trying to do 6 times 7. Okay, now by mental math, 6 times 7 is 42, meaning you want to get to where you can do some of those in your head. Just like when we talked about addition and you're adding 8 plus 6 and you're doing that in your head. You want to get to where you can do some of these in your head, as many as you can. But basically, how you use the chart, though, is if you're multiplying 6 times 7, you can start with 6 and then go to the row of 7, okay? And so 6 times 7 is 42. Same thing if you were to flip those around to do 7 times 6. If you started at 7 and go to the row of 6, you also get 42. Because it doesn't matter what order you multiply numbers. If you multiply 6 times 7 or 7 times 6, you should get 42 both times. Okay, let's try another one. 11 times 10. Okay, so 11 times 10, we're going to go to the row of 10, and it's 110. Okay, here's the row of 10. We did 11 times 10. So that's how you use a multiplication chart. I would practice some of these, especially like from 1 to 9 times 1 to 9. So like all your 4 times 5, 6 times 3, all those in this range here, 9 times 9, all the way up in this box here, this range. You'll want to try to learn those. Okay, flashcards are a good tool with that, but I would suggest doing that. Another thing I want to show you, and I'll go up to the whiteboard. So let me get this set. This should give me enough. Let me close this. It'll brighten up the whiteboard, I think. Yeah, perfect. So is your thing of nines? Nines is another thing that students struggle with when they're multiplying. There's little tricks you can do with nines. So one of them is if you write out anything times 9. So I'm just gonna. Oh, that's one of the old markers. That would have been bad. So if I do 1 times 9, and so on. Oops. Okay, there's little tricks with nines, because nines seem to be the ones that students struggle with the most in that way. But if we do each one of these, so 18, 27, 36, 45, 54, 63, 72, 81. There's a couple special things about with your multiples of 9. One is that the numbers will always add up to 9. So 1 plus 8 is 9. 2 plus 7 is 9. 3 plus 6 is 9. So if you're just doing one in your head like 9 times 5 and you're like, is it 45 or 46? Just know the 4 and 5 are going to add up to 9. So that's one way, a trick you can do. Another thing, if you notice, if we make this a 0, like it's 0, 9, right? We can go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Because the next one's going to be 9 times 10, which is 90. And then if you look on this side, it goes down. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, and then the next one would be 0 for 90. So that's one trick you can do, but that really only helps you if you've got them all written down. Otherwise, you don't really know where you're at on the chart. One thing I like to do, and I have to kind of face, this is going to be weird because I'm facing, like if you're doing this to yourself, okay, and so I've got my hands here, and let's say I'm doing 9 times 4. I put up 10 fingers, and my thumbs are fingers on this case. Okay, so I'm going to use the thumbs as well. But if I do 9 times 4, okay, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So I counted my thumb is 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to hold that finger down, that fourth finger down, and it's 30. See, 1, 2, 3 is 36. 36. If I want to do 6 times 9, let's try it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold this 6 finger down, and I've got 50. That's 5, 4. I've got 4 fingers over here, so 54 is 9 times 6. So that's something you can do as well if you're learning your nines and go through that way. We start here because these here are mental math. There's no process for them. If I do 8 times 7 or 6 times 3, I've just got to learn those. It's mental math. It's practice. You can use your chart at first, but you want to get to where you're not using that as much, okay? So that's one thing you can do and practice those. That's going to be on your own time. We're not going to really spend time through that, but I do want to now look at what happens when you get bigger and you're way off the chart and you're not doing mental math anymore. So let's take an example of this, okay? 72 times 8. Now, mentally, this is not a math that you probably can memorize and go through and be like, what's 72 times 8, just right off the top of your head. We do use a process for this, so that's what I'm going to show you here, is how to multiply this on paper and the process for that. So we start with a 2-digit times a 1-digit. Now, in math, in multiplication, like I said, it does not matter what order you put these in. Subtraction, it does. Like if I do 72 minus 8, that's a lot different than if I do 8 minus 72, if I flip those. But in multiplication, just like addition, it doesn't matter. Like 72 plus 8 is going to be the same answer as 8 plus 72. And 72 plus times 8 is going to be the same answer as 72 or 8 times 72. It does not matter what order you put them in. It just looks a little bit cleaner if you put the smaller number down here, but you don't have to, okay? But when I go to multiply these, I'm going to take, in this case, the reason why I like the 8 on bottom is this is the only number that's going to be my multiplier. This is going to be the only one I gotta work with. If it was flipped around, I got to do the 2 and then the 7. So in this case, I'm going to put the 8 on bottom because it's much easier. And now I'm going to take 8 times 2. Okay, not 8 times 72, just 8 times 2 at first. Now that's a mental math problem. So if you're using your chart, look up 8 times 2 and you get 16. Except just like when we're adding, I'm not going to write 16 down here. I'm going to write the 6 here and carry the 1. Okay, so I did 8 times 2 is 16. There's my 6, carry my 1. Now I'm going to do 8 times 7, which is 56, but then I'm going to add that 1. So it's 57. Okay, so that's the process for doing these, is you're going to do 8 times 2, which is 16, carry the 1. 8 times 7 then, which is 56, plus 1 is 57. Let's do another one of those. 56 times 9. Okay, so my process is I'm going to do 9 times 6, which is 54, and carry my 5. You can carry a bigger number than 1. And then 9 times 5 is 45, plus that 5 is 50. So my answer is 504. If you need to run this back and look at it again and kind of get used to that, practice it, you can do that. One bigger is I'm going to put 3 digits on top and show you that that doesn't change the process. Okay, so now I've got 3 digits times 1 digit. And this one I'm definitely going to want the 7 on bottom because, like I said, it's just much, much easier that way. But the process stays the same, except now you're going further. So 7 times 6 is 42. Carry the 4. 7 times 4 is 28. Plus that 4 is 32. Carry the 3. And then 7 times 3 is 21. Plus that 3 is 24. So 2,422. Now we're getting into some big numbers, so You know, if you're used to putting commas, just know every third number, you know, here's a decimal, and we go through that later, that there's a decimal here, even though there's not a written decimal. This is the end of my whole numbers. Then I go 3 numbers, so 1, 2, 3, and I'd put my comma there. Every 3 numbers, okay? If I had 2 more numbers, then I need a comma there as we go on, okay? All right. Now, what happens when a 0 gets involved? So let's do one with a 0 on this number here, okay? So let's say I've got a 0 up there. Okay, it's treated just like there's a 0. And one important thing to know is anything times 0 is 0. Okay, so that means I'm going to do my process the same, except when I do 6 times 0, that's 0, and there's nothing to carry. And then I do 6 times 3, which is 18. Okay, so the process don't change, just know that anything times 0 is 0. So 6 times 0 is 0, nothing to carry. 6 times 3 is 18. Let's do one a little bit bigger than that with zeros. Let's say I have 2 zeros. Okay. So now I'm going to go and multiply, like my process, 4 times 0 is 0, nothing to carry. 4 times 0 is 0, nothing to carry. 4 times 8 is 32. Every 3 numbers put a comma. And if you don't put a comma right now, that's fine. You know, I'm not going to count you wrong if you don't have it there. You just, you know, you want to get used to putting it where it needs to be. So I went 3 numbers and then put my comma. Okay, so it's right here in between the 3 and the 2. Okay, 3,200. Okay, let's do one that has a little wrinkle in it. My students that have had me for a while know I like to use that term, a little wrinkle. Math does that. It's like you learn it, you think, oh, I got this, and then they throw this little wrinkle at you, okay? So here's a wrinkle. We got 2 zeros, so let's treat it, you know, we're doing it the same. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 0 is 0. And then we end up going 5 times 2, which is 10, so there ends up being another 0. But that became because of the multiplication. So 0, 0, and then 5 times 2 is 10. So we have 1,000, okay? All right, this is where usually I'd be like, is there questions? But that's how you do 1 digit on the bottom and you kind of build. I do want to go ahead and put in, well, let's multiply times 2. Tomorrow's video, I'll answer your assignment, and then we're going to get into 3 digit. This is going to be a very, very short unit because really there's only one thing to look at multiplication. And then we'll be doing our study guide and testing just like we did before. But here is 2 digits on the bottom, 2 digits up top, 2 digits on the bottom. Doesn't matter which one is above or which one's below. Sometimes it's just easier to have the smaller one bottom, but you don't have to. At this case, it doesn't matter if you flip them because there's going to be 2 multipliers in this. So what we do with this then is we do the same thing with this 3 that we did on the prior stuff. We're going to multiply 3 times 6 and 3 times 8. So 3 times 6 is 18, and we carry the 1. And then 3 times 8 is 24, plus the 1 is 25. So we did that the same if we'd done it 86 times 3. Nothing different, okay? 3 times 6 is 18, carry the 1. 3 times 8 is 24, plus 1 is 25. Now I've got to work with the 7. First thing I want to do is mark this out. Why? Because I don't want to reuse that. I'm done with that 1. I don't want to add it again when I'm working with my 7. That 1 went with when I was multiplying 3. So I cross out any carrying that I have above there from the 3. The next thing I do is very, very important because this will change your answer completely. I've got to go over to start multiplying by the 7s. I've got to put something here to move over. Now, some have learned this where they don't put anything here, they just move over to this spot. I'm okay with that if that's how you learn it and you feel comfortable. I just see mistakes a lot of times. If there's nothing there, students just start to slide over and they end up messing up their rows. So what I do to move over a spot, meaning I'm going to move over to multiply by the 7, I need to put a 0 here, okay? I need to put a space over to move over 1. Okay, if you just move over without putting a 0 there, like I said, I just see students do this where they slide over. So it'd be a good practice to put a 0 there. Okay, that means now I'm going to start 7 times 6, but I'm going to be putting my first answer right here. Okay, so 7 times 6 is 42. Carry the 4. Now everything else is the same at this point. 7 times 8 is 56 plus 4 is 60. And so everything from that point was the same. I just needed to put that 0 to move over a space. Okay. Now, what I would do is write these problems out, obviously, because like I said, this is going to be almost impossible to do in your head. But what you're going to want to do is, as you're going through checking your answers when we go and keep doing these, you may have missed this row but got everything else right after that. Or maybe you missed this row and got this one fine. You're going to want to go through and check and see if you just missed one of the rows or if you missed the whole thing, because if you miss one of these rows, it's going to mess your whole answer up. And I don't want you to think, oh, I just missed it again. I missed the whole thing again. I don't know how to do this. It could just be that you missed one of your rows, okay? So, or just made a math mistake somewhere in here. So don't necessarily think because your problem's wrong that the whole thing was messed up. Go back and check and see where you made your mistake. That's why I like to do math on paper, because in a calculator, you have no idea. You could have hit it in a wrong number. You could have hit the times wrong. You could have, just missed off a letter or a number. With this, you can see where you made your mistake. The last thing we need to do is add these two rows. So 8, 5 plus 2 is 7, 2 plus 0 is 2, and 6, 6,278. So like I said, check each row. You could have multiplied right and maybe just added wrong. So check each row and make sure you did the whole problem right. Okay, let's do another one of those. 79 times 29. Okay, so we're going to do 9 times 9, which is 81. Carry the 8. 9 times 7 is 63. Plus 8 is 71. And I'm done with this row, so I'm going to cross that out. And then to start this, I'm going to put a 0. Then I do 2 times 9 is 18. 2 times 7 is 14 plus 1 is 15. So these should be your two rows. And then add them. So I did 1, 9, 12, carried the 1, 2. Okay? All right, let's try a 3-digit times a 2-digit. Nothing really changes, just a little bit bigger. Okay. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 8 is 16. Didn't need to put anything to carry over, so I don't need to cross anything out, but I do need to put my 0 to start this row. 7 times 3 is 21. 7 times 4 is 28 plus 2 is 30. 7 times 8 is 56 plus 3 is 59. So your two rows should be this. Now you add them. 6, 9, 6, 10, 6. Carried the 1, so that's 6. So this one actually ends up being 60,696. I went 3 spaces, put my comma, 60,696. Okay, zeros also get involved with this. So what happens when you have like 80 times 57? Okay, same thing. The 0 is a number. So 7 times 0 is 0. 7 times 8 is 56. Okay, nothing to carry, so nothing to cross out. I need to put my 0 for moving over. This 0 is not anything from multiplying yet. It's just the 0 I put to start on my next row. Now I do 5 times 0, which is 0, and 5 times 8, which is 40. So we end up having another 0. And then we add. Okay. And so zeros can get involved even in 2-digit. Okay, let's try a couple more zeros. And I know it's going kind of quick, but you can pause it. Try to keep the length of my videos down, but you can pause it or go back and rewatch and check it and do it with me. Okay, same thing. Start with a 6. 6 times 0, 6 times 0, 6 times 3. Then I need to put my 0 to start the next row. Now I start multiplying. 5 times 0, 5 times 0, 5 times 3. I need to add. You want to keep everything lined up so you can add the right numbers. And we get 16,800. Okay. One last thing is what happens when the zero's on bottom. Okay, so let's look at a problem like this. This actually, there's kind of a shortcut you know, if I was to do this row, it'd be 0 times 6, which is 0. 0 times 5 is 0. So that's not going to change anything when I add. This makes no difference. Now, if I did it that way and then put my 0 to move over to my 7, now I go 7 times 6 is 42. 7 times 5 is 35, plus that is 39. Add it. And as you see, this 0, 0 didn't change anything. It didn't change this total whatsoever. So let's keep that answer up there, 3920, and see what happens when we use a shortcut, which is if this 0 does not change anything, and it doesn't change my total whatsoever, I can go ahead and just put a 0 to move over to this row, because this row was inconsequential, didn't change anything. So I put my 0 to move over to this one, and now I go 7 times 6 is 42, 7 times 5 is 35, plus 4 is 39, and I get my 3920, okay? So that's a shortcut. If you have a 0 here, you can just put a 0 and move over and start going on the second row. Let's do one more of those, and I'm going to put some more zeros in there just to kind of make it even trickier, but that way you can have an example of this. It's very important that you keep track of which zeros you're getting from moving over and which zeros you're getting from actually multiplying, because with that many zeros going on, you could lose track. So in this case, to use my shortcut, I'm going to put a 0 to move over, and now I go 4 times this 0, which is 0, 4 times this 0, which is 0, and 4 times 3, which is 12, and I get 12,000. Okay? So that gives you a pretty good amount of examples. I'm going to put an assignment up there. We're back to where take a photo of it, upload it for your assignment grade, and then we'll go from there. Oh, that stool about busted. That would have been a comedic, and I wouldn't have reshot that because we're like 20 minutes into this video, so you would have had a good video of me laying against the wall there. Okay, so you put your assignment here. 7 times 9. 15 times 5. Kind of building here. 78 times 7. Number 4 is 257 times 6. Okay, number 5 is 40 times 4. Number 6 is 300 times 2. Number 7 is 500 times 8. Okay. Number 8 is 67 times 83. Now we're into 2 digits. Number 9 is 75 times 58. Number 10 is 70 times 36. Number 11 is 200 times 82. 12 is 85 times 60. Okay, 85 times 60. All right, so 12 problems there to practice all the multiplication. Tomorrow's video, I'll post the answers to this and move into the last little bit of multiplication for my night class. This is the first video. You're going to have the second video at the same time, so make sure you watch both and do both assignments for your night class because it's 2 days of assignments. And then be watching. I'll make an announcement later when everybody's finished the test, and I'll post the answers so you can kind of check what you missed. Your scores are in there, but you can kind of see what you missed and fix it and kind of study off of that. All right? Thanks, guys.